It's Sunday, September 14th, 2025. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. Welcome to the thousands of new subscribers. Thank you for being part of this weather community. Two areas in particular we're going to watch. This spot here near the Carolinas, I want to show you that. That could briefly develop. And then we swing here, this big blob out here kind of looks like a couple blobs. This tropical wave is likely to develop. It is so far out there though, still kind of a wait and see on that. Plus we have a tropical wave that is sliding by for us in the Caribbean. So you can see this area here we are in the Caribbean, and this as it continues to move toward the west-northwest should develop some. With that said, there's still some dry air out ahead of it, so we'll wait and see on kind of how quickly this area develops. But watching this in particular as we go forward throughout the upcoming week for the higher potential of some development out of this. We've been talking about this over the last several days or so. Then we swing back here. You never want to lose sight of what's going on in the entire Atlantic basin. You could be looking at one thing and something somewhere else is developing, and that's what I'm kind of watching here near the Carolinas. Get over toward Hatteras South through Morehead City. It's been a little bit rocky with some rain and storms. There could be a little spin developing here. So if you're watching along the east coast of the United States, I want to show you this area and the winds with this area and the possibility this briefly develops into a tropical system and moves on shore just over the next 2 days. So I've got that covered as well on this channel. Now, let's take a look at what's going on. We'll go step by step, right? Here's the coast of Africa, watching that tropical wave moving off. All of the models have this developing. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to develop into a hurricane, but just as of now, their computer models are saying, hey, this area is going to eventually develop into a tropical storm and a hurricane. Most of the models have this staying to the northeast of the Caribbean. But I mentioned a little bit of a wait and see because it is so far out there. We know these things could change. In my decades of doing this, seen a lot of changes when we get stuff coming off the coast of Africa. Now, looking as we go over the next few weeks, it is going to be an active period. And with that said, anything that works its way near the Bahamas, back through the Caribbean, back into the Gulf, we have these very warm pockets of water. And with that said, things can develop pretty quickly, or things can really get stronger quickly if anything gets in this area. Because you see these red shadings here, that's not just warm water, that is warm, deep water. Those are the areas that could really rapidly intensify a system. So point being, high ocean heat content, that's what it's called in this area. So we need to monitor closely if anything gets in here. It's not just warm water, but the warm water goes down far. That would act like a lot of fuel if the system passes on top of it. And you can see those actual water temperatures here pressing 31 degrees Celsius, about 90 degrees Fahrenheit in a lot of this sector. It is super warm, but it's supposed to be warm. We're at the tail end of summer, but it's the depth of the warm water that is a big concern, just if anything gets a bit closer to land. So now let me show you, starting here with what's going on off the coast of Africa. High pressure to the north, that's the blocker, and that will allow this area just to move to the west-northwest over the next several days. Now, it should be developing somewhat, but we'll see how that dry air plays into that. We've seen that with the last couple tropical waves with that dry air just surrounding it. So we'll monitor how much it does develop. Fortunately, we got a lot of time to do that with this one because it is so far out there. But this is the inside look at the European model, showing this area trying to develop another little area back behind it. And again, keeping an eye on the coast of the Carolinas, which we'll get to in just a second. But let's go out in time. That was Wednesday. We go out in time here into next weekend. So we're a week from now as we work our way into Sunday. So that's a week from today. And you can see the high uncertainty in this, anywhere from near the northeastern Caribbean, and then simply staying out to sea, being mindful of Bermuda, of course. But most of the indications are at least a little bit of a turn. But I've seen things do different things over the years, maybe make a late turn, which would be a problem, or an earlier turn. But that just shows you the uncertainty. But again, days of tracking this together. But there should be at least some development out of this, and then we'll be watching it together. If anything gets close to land, I will give you plenty of time to prepare. That's why I do this channel, for safety. Now, here's a look at that European model, a little more specifically. Here we are in the Caribbean. There's the area of high pressure, lots of fronts back near Bermuda. These are the fronts that may help kind of grab this area and steer it up. That's why it would make a curve. It's just a matter of when it will do that. So watching that. But here we are, Barbados, St. Lucia, Dominica, Trinidad, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Martin. And you see here, this is by Wednesday, developing into potentially tropical depression, a tropical storm, fighting through some of the dry air. The dry air hopefully will win out some. And then watching another spot back behind it. But as we go out in time here, into the upcoming weekend, so next weekend, this here would be by Saturday. You see the European model has this area just to the northeast of the Caribbean. If this were to happen, we would be okay in the northeastern Caribbean regardless of what it is. If there's a little bit of a shift closer, that could be a problem. And then of course, always monitoring other areas too, watching Bermuda and just seeing how this kind of pans out, because what I need to watch for is the timing and the strength of these fronts to see how quickly it could pull this area back toward potentially the north. Now, that was the European model, showing a little bit of a closer approach of some sort of system to the Caribbean. And then you can see here, this is the American model, watching that same spot. One tropical wave also. I'm going to zoom down for us in the Caribbean in a moment, cover those rain totals. Watching the Carolinas, I'm going to zoom down here in a moment as well. And then we're going to keep an eye on Central America. I mentioned how later this month we'd get a lot of extra rain back through the Western Caribbean up through the Gulf. And that is what we're going to see as we enter into a more active period late September into October. So here's this system, the American model, very similar to the European model, at least in the short term. And there's a surge of moisture that I was just talking about by the middle of the week. Not necessarily developing, but just kind of keeping an eye on this as we go forward. Now, as we get into the upcoming weekend, next weekend, and even 6, 7, 8 days from now. This would be a week from today, and then getting into a Monday of the following week. You see the American model has this making an earlier curve. It's not that one is right or wrong. It's just very early in this scenario. Watching these fronts near Bermuda, hopefully these fronts can help kind of tug this and then kind of keep it away. We'll watch that. Most of the models picking up on another tropical wave that could develop back behind it, and then monitoring these surges of moisture, Western Caribbean back into the Gulf. So watching this together as we go throughout the week, I'll give you the updates. If I see it kind of trending its way or looking like it's going to be closer to the Caribbean, I'll give us plenty of heads up. I don't rely on just the models for sure. We've seen them be so far off this season. I'm watching what's going on in the environment. Now look at this spin here. Here we're on the coast of the Carolinas, and I know this is not getting a whole lot of attention, but sometimes something could briefly spin up, at the least gusty winds and some rain as we go over the next couple of days. This here is tomorrow afternoon. This will even push into southern Delmarva, watching that, but there will be some sort of broad spin right in here. It could briefly become a tropical depression or tropical storm. That's not out of the question. I don't expect super high winds out of this, but very high seas. And you see that rain that's going to be working. Excuse that label right there. That, I don't know why that's there. That should be sitting right over here. The same thing with Duck. Duck is sitting right over here. But you get the idea, that moisture that will be pulling in as we work our way to Tuesday. And I promise I'll fix the labels for the next video. Here's a look at that. All right, that's cleaned up here. Here's a look at that spin. I like this because it really dissects exactly what we're seeing. You can see that little spin right there, and you see this white shading here. So from Hatteras south through Morehead City, we could get some gust 40, maybe 50 miles per hour, that white shading there. This is tomorrow morning. And then this builds back toward the coast, even up toward Duck, some of the higher winds as we work our way deeper into tomorrow as you get into the northern sections of the Outer Banks. And then whatever this little spin is, tries to work in from Morehead City back toward Hatteras as we work our way into Monday night into Tuesday morning. So again, not expecting a big event here, but it is definitely interesting. You see the spin with me as well. Watching that, got everyone covered best I can this hurricane season. Now, we flip down here where we have a tropical wave that moved by. Some of us had some heavier rain yesterday, some of us didn't, but that tropical wave will continue to work through, and it will enhance the rain chance back through the Western Caribbean throughout the week. In the meantime, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, scattered areas areas of rain and storms the next few days as that tropical wave moves in. Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent the Grenadines, Grenada, we could get a little pocket of showers. Extra rain watching Belize, Guatemala. There's that surge of moisture. Anywhere from Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, north, just seeing that extra rain. And again, as this tropical wave moves in, it's going to help feed some of this rain even back toward parts of Cuba and Florida. And then we'll be monitoring throughout the week ahead. Another little impulse here that may give us some additional rain as we work our way into a Wednesday, and then watching the bigger system trying to develop out there in the Atlantic. So no doubt busy. Here's the broad picture as we swing to the north. This is the spot I just zoomed down to, right back toward the Carolinas. Watching a lot of stuff just off the coast for the most part of Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. Manitoba back through the Dakotas. Watching another little system moving by. So keeping an eye in this area with at least the extra rain for parts of Virginia into North Carolina, where some of that rain could even feed more inland as we work our way through the week ahead. And then this here is on Tuesday. There's that rain back through the mid-Atlantic. Keep an eye on Bermuda with some chances of rain moving by. And then a little extra feed of moisture watching over toward the Rocky Mountains, where there's been some extra rain and storms over the last few days. Now, this is that spot I'm watching for some development near land, and you could see those elevated seas elsewhere in the Gulf and the Caribbean. The seas are not too bad. And then as we work our way into the middle of next week, this is by Tuesday, this is by Wednesday, we're going to monitor what is out here. Even if this curves away from us, by the end of the upcoming week, we'll see those Atlantic passageways getting more dangerous with some of those swells that will be working in. So as far as the rain goes, we did have a front push by the southern United States, even clipping by parts of northern sections of the Bahamas, and that has reduced the rain chance. Not that we can't get a quick inch or two of rain, but again, the rain chance has gone down. Through here, we have a better chance of scattered rain and storms anywhere from the British and U.S. Virgin Islands, swinging all the way back through the Cayman Islands, especially as we go over the next few days and that tropical wave moves across, a better chance of some rain. If you get a thunderstorm, 50 to 75 millimeters of rain will be a possibility, or 2 to 3 inches of rain. And you could see at least this model picking up on the potential of some downpours in spots. So giving you the heads up, some of us won't get a whole lot, but others, we're going to get some thunderstorms. We need to monitor for some isolated flooding. And then as we swing south, totals wouldn't be too high, kind of getting brushed by some showers, but we could see a little bit more as we work our way into a Tuesday near Trinidad and Tobago, even Wednesday. So I'm going to be watching us, especially southern Trinidad, for some isolated flooding as we get into early in the week. Guyana, Suriname, Venezuela, not as much. And again, just kind of a sloppy mess through here, anywhere from really Belize, even parts of the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, but especially Belize south. We could have some totals for 3-day totals of 4 inches of rain or 100 millimeters of rain plus. So it could be even higher than that. Watching near Mexico City, especially over toward the western sections of Mexico, keeping an eye on the possibility of more tropical development in the eastern Pacific, watching that, and then seeing some of those showers here, parts of New Mexico, panhandle of Texas, panhandle of Oklahoma, and then generally drying through here where we've had that taste of autumn, but watching over toward the Carolinas with that higher chance of rain, gusty winds over the next 2 days with that spin that is nearby the Outer Banks. So a 40 to 50% chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms across Jamaica, 30 to 40% chance in the Cayman Islands. 40% chance today and tomorrow in Trinidad and Tobago. But I mentioned the little bump up for us, right? So by the time we get into Tuesday, rain chance will be up to about 50%. Barbados, rain chance, it's not going to be super high from Barbados back through St. Lucia. A rain chance 20, 30, maybe 40% by the time we get into Tuesday. Holding on to an isolated chance in Grenada the next 3 days, a 30% chance. Still seeing a few spotty showers around the backside of the tropical wave today. St. Vincent the Grenadines, tomorrow about a 30% chance. And running at a 30 to 40% chance in Martinique. So at times we get some showers moving by. Same thing in Dominica, 40% chance today and a 30% chance for tomorrow, and holding on to a 40% chance through Tuesday in Guadeloupe. Antigua, Barbuda, rain chance will start to build as we get into the week. By the middle of the week, there could be a little impulse of some rain, just some extra showers around, so we'll be watching that. 30 to 40% chance. St. Kitts and Nevis and Montserrat, you see that 40% chance today. We do that again on Tuesday. Isolated showers possible in Guila and St. Bart's, but by Tuesday it starts to make the climb. We'll have a 40% chance as well on Tuesday. St. Martin, Saba, and Statia. Rain chance 40% in Puerto Rico, but I mentioned scattered thunderstorms. That could lead to some flooding in spots. Some of those could be quite strong. And then as we work our way back toward the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, 30 to 40% chance as well. Watching out for some areas of rain. Bahamas, rain chance has gone down some from last week. Still that chance of scattered showers. Turks and Caicos, a 30% chance. In building through the Dominican Republic, the rivers are going to be an issue. The Dominican Republic and back through Haiti for some storms around, and the higher chance as the week goes on, Tuesday into Wednesday on the backside of that tropical wave. Belize, we're going to stay active, favoring central and southern sections. Rain chance by tomorrow up to 60%. Aruba just a 20% chance, and a 20% chance the next 2 days. Curacao and Bonaire, rain chance about 30% in Guyana. Suriname, we're mainly dry. Can't rule out a very isolated chance of a shower. Scattered thunderstorms, especially central and eastern Cuba. Some could be on the strong side. 70% chance of rain. Costa Rica and Panama, 60 to 70% chance in Nicaragua staying active, and building some as well in parts of Honduras. We're going to see some heavy pockets of rain as we get into the week ahead. In Guatemala and El Salvador, boy, that rain chance, it's been around. It's going to stay on the elevated side. Please use caution in and around the rivers and with that mudslide threat. 60 to 70% chance Mexico City, 50% chance scattered thunderstorms, Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, northern Colombia, about a 50% chance, and building a little bit in northern Venezuela, 50 to about 60% chance. Bermuda with those fronts nearby, at times watching out for the chance of some rain. So a strong Atlantic tropical wave should slowly develop for the week ahead. I'll be tracking that with you as we go over the next few videos, and watching near the Carolinas, we could see that brief system forming up wherever the next named storm pops up, and whenever it pops up, it will be Gabrielle. So thank you for being part of this channel. Hope you have a really good rest of your day.